Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
I'm Stephen Carroll, and this is Here's Why, where we take one news story and explain it in just a few minutes with our experts here at Bloomberg.
President Trump's going to add the greatest improvement to the White House in the history of the building since it was originally constructed in 1800.
I want to build a ballroom. It needs it badly. A ballroom that could seat 600 or 700 people.
Can any president do such a thing to the White House grounds? There have been many presidents in the past who have made their mark on this beautiful White House complex.
We determined that really knocking it down, trying to use a little section, the East Wing was not much. There was not much left from the original.
I was devastated. I was really devastated because we had heard that they were going to save this building, and now it seems they didn't.
Trust the process. This is going to be a magnificent addition to the White House for many years to come, and it's not costing the taxpayers anything. The president is privately funding this ballroom addition to the White House grounds.
The demolition of the East Wing of the White House to make way for Donald Trump's new ballroom surprised architects, historians, and the general public. Traditionally, changes to historic public buildings in the United States are carefully reviewed by government agencies. But not this time, leaving many people with questions as to how this happened. Here's why Trump was able to demolish the White House's East Wing. Kriston Capps from Bloomberg CityLab joins me now for more. Kriston, great to talk to you. Donald Trump has spoken for some time about this ballroom project. What do we know about it?
Well, we know a little bit. The details that we do know are that it's supposed to be 90,000 square feet in size, and it's going to be built to host 999 people. Both of those numbers have increased over Trump's administration so far. So those details are still a bit in flux. We haven't seen any formal proposal yet.
It's suffice to say, it's a big change to the White House as well. How does it compare to renovations or additions that previous presidents have made to the building?
It's like nothing since the last White House expansion in 1942. Since that time, there have been, of course, many changes. Trump himself added a tennis pavilion during his first term. The White House increased the size of its security perimeter fence over the course of multiple administrations. But this is the biggest change in generations.
So did the East Wing have to be demolished to be able to build this?
For people who knew the site really well, this demolition actually wasn't a surprise. The size of the ballroom that Trump is proposing to build required such a massive intervention in the White House campus, which is really quite compact, that there is no room to build such a site and also preserve what is existing.
So what are the rules then about making changes to the White House?
There are both many rules governing this process and seemingly none at all. It falls into a strange loophole. For historic properties in historic areas, such as the White House, the proposal is supposed to go before at least two boards, the Commission on Fine Arts and the National Capital Planning Commission. But the Trump administration has suggested that demolition is not covered by these review agencies and can proceed before the formal plans. But of course, that forces the issue because no one wants to see a gaping hole on the lawn of the White House.
So can we say that the Trump administration did act within the rules then?
I think that remains to be seen. There is a National Park Service rule, for example, that dates back to, the early 20th century and the formation of the National Park Service that requires the Park Service to issue permits for demolition, to issue permits for construction. It's unclear whether that happened for the White House, which is a National Park Service entity. That's just one of the laws that seem to be glaring in the wake of this demolition.
So do the same rules apply to all federal buildings then? And I suppose, could we see similar things happen with other landmarks?
For other federal historic properties, they are covered by a National Historic Preservation Act law. However, that law specifically exempts the White House, the Supreme Court, and the Capitol. The Supreme Court and Capitol buildings have their own separate review system. It's quite different. The White House falls into a kind of loophole. We could see the demolition of other historic properties. The Trump administration has cut most of the staff that works for federal historic preservation agencies and slated several historic properties for disposal.
What do we know about the timeline for the ballroom project from here? The demolition has happened, but what should we expect to happen next on the site?
The Trump administration has suggested that now, with the demolition done, it will submit its plans before the National Capital Planning Commission. That process could be expedited because Trump appoints most all of the members of that commission. He has also just recently fired all of the Biden appointees from the Commission of Fine Arts, the other relevant agency, and I expect we'll appoint new members to that soon. Those appointees will know their assignment.
And just in terms of the demolition, should we expect any further investigations or any follow-up to this change on what is such an iconic location?
It's an open question whether anyone has any standing to bring forth any kind of suit challenging the White House demolition. In a sense, all Americans feel some ownership of the White House, but whether that passes legal muster remains to be seen. There are also open questions about the demolition process itself. It did not require permits for demolition from the city of Washington or permits for asbestos abatement. And I'm very eager to find out whether those processes were followed.
Okay, Kriston Capps, reporter with Bloomberg CityLab. Thank you very much. For more explanations like this from our team of 3,000 journalists and analysts around the world, go to bloomberg.com/explainers. I'm Stephen Carroll. This is Here's Why. I'll be back next week with more. Thanks for listening.